Hello. I just dropped my daughter off at a movie theater. It's very cool. You can rent movie theaters now relatively easily with your friends, your buddies, and go see a movie. Very nice. I have in the car with me. I brought a book because I'm pumped for today's video. I'm channeling Cecilia. Cecilia's on vacation, and I was texting her this excerpt I'm going to read today because it's what Cecilia usually talks about. And I'm pretty sure she's like quoted this passage before in one of her videos or podcast episodes. I'm going to read from Atomic Habits by James Clear. Again, when Cecilia gets back from vacation, I'll probably talk to her about what I'm reading from today. We'll probably do some kind of video that we'll put on YouTube. But I feel inspired to make this car vid because it deals with, first of all, the subjects we always talk about, and it also deals with what we've been talking about recently. First of all, in terms of like my new book, Money Your Friend. I'll put the link below if for some reason you don't have my new book, Money Your Friend. You can get it today on Amazon. In terms of like, Money Your Friend, there's a 30-day exercise involving basically 2 habits. Now, in the book, I use the term habits loosely because it's more about experimenting with who you are on a deep level. And Atomic Habits is a book about habit building, okay? It's more explicit than that. But it also deals with getting real about what we are doing to change our life or to shift our identities. And what's so interesting is, we've been discussing how much spiritual bypassing there is in the law of assumption, law of attraction, new age community, spiritual community at large. It's always an issue, right? But we specifically see a new age law of assumption type of stuff on YouTube and in other social media avenues. Just a ton of like bypassing of the reality of the situation and putting rose-colored glasses onto a situation where you don't actually feel any better. You're lying to yourself. You're deceiving yourself that you feel better and are a new person, while in reality, you're just in your head that you're a new person, but you don't feel any differently. And, when it comes to law of assumption advice and most law of attraction advice, it's much more about the feeling and figuring out a way imaginatively to shift how you feel so you feel better about a certain subject, or just you can even take away the certain subject part and just feel better in general to change your life. If we just say, I'm going to be in a relationship, for instance, and I now am, in this perfect relationship and that's it, and it's very mental, but we still feel trapped emotionally and don't feel like we are going to be in this relationship or already are in some way inwardly. If it's just a mental facade we've put up for ourselves, if we just disassociated from our feelings, we're not going to feel good. And that's an example of spiritual bypassing. And it seems ridiculous when I spell it out like this, but we see it all the time in the law of assumption community. The way people interpret Neville's stuff, especially on YouTube, is this very simplistic, dogmatic way where the deeper points, the inevitable resistance you're going to come up against when you are trying to feel better and change who you are from the inside out, right? You're going to face resistance. That's how it works. And denying that is just going to slow down your change, your transformation, your demonstration, your manifestation, whatever you want to call it. Right? And what's so interesting, the excerpt I'm about to read, it's like, I don't think James Clear knows anything about Neville. He's probably never even heard of Neville Goddard, right? But what he talks about is like the fucking law of assumption in this excerpt. And this is what I'm always talking about, like on my podcast and in these videos, that like what Neville talks about is an extreme version of like good, almost, I don't want to say standard, but like very good to great self-improvement and, new thought advice, basically. And also just like standard self-improvement, good habit building advice. A lot of what Neville talks about is just that taken to an extreme. The idea that Neville talks about is you can assume something so deeply, feel it so deeply, that it then just shows up, right? And that you'll be like compelled to take the proper action for it to take place. A lot of these, especially these habit building type of writers and teachers, someone like James Clear, they're saying that, you're going to be compelled to take the right action, but you have to take the action. A lot of people in the Neville community just think you assume it, and that's it. I'm not going to have to take any action. And that can happen because Neville's advice is powerful enough and extreme enough where that can happen, where you feel something so vividly. It's like, I'm now in the perfect relationship, and you feel it, and it's like, oh, it's real, it's happened, it's done. I'm in the perfect relationship. And you feel it so vividly that then it seems like you really don't have to do anything. The next day or 3 days later, you just bump into somebody at the post office, and that person ends up being your partner. With Neville's advice, that can happen more easily, I would say, than a lot of these self-improvement or new thought teachers' advice. But usually, even with Neville's advice, you got to take action. You're going to take appropriate action, hopefully. Instead of stressed action, you're going to take more action that feels aligned with what you want and the feeling of already having it, right? And that's what Emile Coué, my favorite, law of attraction type of teacher, always talks about. Is he goes, your auto-suggestions, your correct imagining is going to compel you to take the right actions to get what you want. If you think something is going to happen, he would say, you are going to take the action necessary for it to happen, even if it seems impossible and like it can't happen. That's LOA. That's the law of assumption. But Neville's just one extreme. And these habit guys like James Clear are much less extreme, but guess what? Their advice is often a lot more effective than the extreme advice for most people. Because most people, quite frankly, are not as extreme or dramatic as Neville. Neville was a very extreme, dramatic person. Most of you are not. And there's nothing wrong with that. And there's a reason that this James Clear book, Atomic Habits, has sold millions and millions of copies, and it's so well known. And there's a reason that Neville's advice, as amazing as it is, isn't that well known. It's because most people aren't as extreme. But they do, on some deep level, usually it's unconscious or subconscious, want to shift who they are into the better version of themselves that they want to be, right? And again, this is the stuff that Cecilia always talks about in terms of building habits. I will talk to her about it, and we'll put something on YouTube sooner than later, probably, about this. But yeah, I want to read this and take from it what you may. So Clear writes in Atomic Habits, every time you choose to perform a bad habit, it's a vote for that identity. The good news is you don't need to be perfect. In any election, there are going to be votes for both sides. You don't need a unanimous vote to win an election. You just need a majority. It doesn't matter if you cast a few votes for bad behavior or an unproductive habit. Your goal is simply to win the majority of the time. New identities require new evidence. If you keep casting the same votes you've always cast, you're going to get the same results you've always had. If nothing changes, nothing is going to change. It's a simple two-step process. Number one, decide the type of person you want to be. Number two, prove it to yourself with small wins. First, decide who you want to be. This holds at any level. As an individual, as a team, as a community, as a nation. What do you want to stand for? What are your principles and values? Who do you wish to become? These are big questions, and many people aren't sure where to begin. But they do know what kind of results they want. To get six-pack abs, or to feel less anxious, or to double their salary. That's fine. Start there and work backward from the results you want to the type of person who could get those results. Ask yourself, who is the type of person that could get the outcome I want? Who is the type of person that could lose 40 pounds? Who is the type of person that can learn a new language? Who is the type of person that could run a successful startup? For example, who is the type of person who could write a book? It's probably someone who is consistent and reliable. Now, your focus shifts from writing a book, outcome-based, to being the type of person who is consistent and reliable, identity-based. This process can lead to beliefs like, I'm the kind of teacher who stands up for her students. I'm the kind of doctor who gives each patient the time and empathy they need. I'm the kind of manager who advocates for her employees. Once you have a handle on the type of person you want to be, you can begin taking small steps to reinforce your desired identity. I have a friend who lost over 100 pounds by asking herself, what would a healthy person do? All day long, she would use this question as a guide. Would a healthy person walk or take a cab? Would a healthy person order a burrito or a salad? She figured if she acted like a healthy person long enough, eventually she would become that person. She was right. The concept of self-identity, the concept of identity-based habits is our first introduction to another key theme in this book, feedback loops. Your habits shape your identity, and your identity shapes your habits. It's a two-way street. The formation of all habits is a feedback loop, a concept we will explore in depth in the next chapter, but it's important to let your values, principles, and identity drive the loop rather than your results. The focus should always be on becoming that type of person, not getting a particular outcome. The real reason habits matter. Identity change is the North Star of habit change. The remainder of this book will provide you with step-by-step instructions on how to build better habits in yourself, your family, your team, your company, and anywhere else you wish. But the true question is, are you becoming the type of person you want to become? The first step is not what or how, but who. You need to know who you want to be. Otherwise, your quest for change is like a boat without a rudder. And that's why we are starting here. You have the power to change your beliefs about yourself. Your identity is not set in stone. You have a choice every moment. You can choose the identity you want to reinforce today with the habits you choose today. And this brings us to the deeper purpose of this book and the real reason habits matter. Building better habits isn't about littering your day with life hacks. It's not about flossing one tooth each night, or taking a cold shower each morning, or wearing the same outfit each day. It's not about achieving external measures of success like earning more money, losing weight, or reducing stress. Habits can help you achieve all of these things, but fundamentally they are not about having something. They are about becoming someone. Ultimately, your habits matter because they help you become the type of person you wish to be. They are the channel through which you develop your deepest beliefs about yourself. Quite literally, you become your habits. I'm amped. That was a wow. What a reading. It's a great excerpt from Atomic Habits by James Clear. You should see explicit similarities with what Neville talks about in the law of assumption with what I just read. If you don't, listen to what I just said again, or better yet, read the book, or at least this part of the book. And again, this is what Cecilia on her channel always talks about. This is like, we got to start looking at this stuff more in this way usually, and continue to look at it this way, and stop with the consistent spiritual bypassing theoretical bullshit that gets most people nowhere when it comes to this advice, when it comes to Neville's advice and law of assumption advice and law of attraction advice in general. I would say, pretty fucking far out there in terms of the advice I give and my own approach to implementing a lot of these tools and ideas. But you have to be grounded in what's actually going on in reality. The excerpt I just read is all about that. All right, so I hope this was helpful. And if you don't have my new book, get it. Money Your Friend. It's only $1 on Kindle currently. And if you would like help on a one-on-one level, I'm available for free consultations to see if my coaching is a good fit for what you're looking for. I can be reached at info@radicalcounselor.com. Until next time, enjoy the movie.